media today. Still haven't figured out a good solution to being live on both when I'm doing an interview style format. So when I'm just solo, you get me on Instagram and Facebook, and then on Thursdays when I do a group call or I have somebody on as a guest, it can't seem to figure it out. So if you have a solution, we just haven't had time to figure it out. So all right, let's see. We'll get some people joining. While we're waiting for people to join, or if you're watching the recording, welcome. I have to just tell you this story. I got this text message from my mom right before I came on, and it made me so emotional. And so I'm like trying to compose myself to get on this live. My personal quarantine situation has been, I got remarried, and so we have 7 kids altogether. I had 2 kids from my first marriage. My husband had 2, and then we had 3 kids together. And my 6-year-old is high risk, and so we had to take precautions, and so the older kids have actually stayed with their other parents through the last 2 months, and we haven't seen them. And our younger kids, who absolutely love their older siblings, because the older siblings are all teenagers, and the younger boys, who they just adore them, and they haven't seen them at all. And so we're reuniting together as a family tomorrow. And my mom was talking to my 3-year-old, and he says, "I'm allowed to touch Izzy because she is one of us." And I thought that was so cool, because Izzy's his sister that he hasn't seen for a long time, and they've had to be careful even touching their dad, because he's been out and about, and so they've had to be really careful. And I thought, it just made me realize, just from a 3-year-old saying this, that how much the family, I hope everybody's just taking time to really just hug their family and appreciate their family during this time. And those you love, if you're, reaching out to people that you maybe feel prompted to reach out to. And because I was thinking of my 3-year-old, to say I am allowed to touch Izzy because she's one of us. He sees that even though he hasn't seen her for 2 months, he knows that she's someone special and still part of our family. And anyways, so you can see why I'm all emotional, because for a 3-year-old to just say that is for somebody that he hasn't seen for 2 months, and just breaks my heart, or not breaks my heart, but makes my heart tugs at my heart. So all right, so today I'm really excited. We're going to be doing a live Q&A format. So Clayton, I saw you wave at me, and then I waved back, and does it show on the screen as a wave? Does it, I see this little thumbnail on there. Oh, maybe I need to hide it again. Okay, I see. So when I click show, does it do a nice wave from Clayton on Facebook? Anyways, not Instagram followers. So, okay. All right, so we're going to do a fun Q&A format. I love getting questions and just kind of answering them impromptu, and just kind of what feels like the right thing to say based on those questions. So hopefully you can connect with me, and hopefully I can get some of your questions answered. And if you're watching the replay on this, feel free to still comment, and I will do a live, or not a live, but an actual audio message back to you. I really want to take this time to connect with you, get to know you, answer any questions you have. So to start, let me just give you a little background on me and my company, and what makes me get up in the morning, what I feel passionate about. So when I've always been an entrepreneur. Ever since in elementary school, it's just been a part of me, and I was born wanting to be an entrepreneur. I don't know, just looking at my kids, you can see that they're born to do some things as well. And so it's just, entrepreneurship has been my thing that I absolutely love. And so I started to go to school for entrepreneurship at Utah State, and I ended up moving back to Boise to get married, and they didn't have an entrepreneurship program at Boise State. And so I ended up just going to some business classes, and I had my first accounting class. And so after that, I loved the accounting class, just because of the problem solving and troubleshooting that was involved. Definitely an entrepreneur, not an accountant, but I ended up being an accountant for over a decade. So I worked out of college after getting my accounting degree. I worked at a couple CPA firms, and I had the opportunity to work with a bunch of business owners. And in 2006, I just meeting with business owners. So this is before the 2008 recession hit. When things were good, there still were, all the business owners I met with were so unhappy, and they didn't have that spark or that passion or that excitement. And I was wanting to go full time being an entrepreneur. I'm like, is this the way, the inevitable doom of being an entrepreneur? I'm like, there's got to be a better way to serve them and to help them. And so I decided to quit my job and started this vision that I had back in 2006. And really, I started doing like virtual phone answering and virtual bookkeeping. And after the recession of 2008, unfortunately, I had to do a lot more like traditional accounting work just to kind of make ends meet. But then about 5 years ago, we relaunched the model, and it's been cool to see the progression of the company and realizing how I've always done everything from the standpoint of what's the best for the business owner and not what's going to either make me the most money or what is the competition doing. And I think by always putting the business owner first and always figuring out how to solve their problems, it's really evolved our company into a very unique model that is really cool. I even like got on the bandwagon of trying to do virtual assistant work along with our other types of services we did for companies. But the virtual assistant model I quickly realized was broken because it still is a one-to-one relationship for that business owner. It's really the business owner having to be the expert, train the VA on how to do the work, and if the VA quits, they have to find another one, or if they don't work very well together. And I thought, like, this is going to not scale a company very fast, and this is not taking things off the plate, eliminating things on the business owner's plate. And so I started to create more specialized teams and pods, and we started to form a really awesome team, and then we started to get better at process, and then we started to see gaps in our technology. And so 6 months ago, we formed a full technology team, and it's really cool because now we have full-blown teams in marketing, sales, service and support, employee engagement, HR, accounting, technology, fulfillment, and even now getting into the strategic partner space. And so what our company has done is really taken the 80% that is the same in every business, and we work to automate and systematize and standardize that. And then we align with the 20% that makes you guys unique. And that's where you guys can put all your effort, take risks, put failure in. But like, why are we putting risks and trying to do trial and error, reinventing the wheel with the things that are the same, where like, because we do those, like we can be innovative and creative in those things. So that's kind of the evolution of my company and really what drives me to get up in the morning. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is being true to my purpose and inspiring others to be true to their purpose and becoming the best versions of themselves. And I really realized to do that, like we have to figure out what our purpose is and then be true to that and figure out how to delegate and automate and eliminate the rest of those things. So with that said, hopefully it sets enough of a framework of who I am, what I'm passionate about. And with that said, let's just open it up for some questions, and I'll just take them one at a time, and then I'll answer them. So here we go. I am live on both, right? Okay. All right. Let's, okay. So Ashley said, are you happy with your business? I absolutely love what I do. So a little bit about me, like for a long time, when I got remarried, I didn't have to, financially, I didn't need to have my business. And plus at the time I was losing money. So all the way around it was, and I just fired a full team. So it was like perfect scenario of just letting the business go, being a full-time mom. I longed for that. I wanted to do that. It was like, that seems like life would be so much easier if I could just do that and not trying to figure out how to be Wonder Woman, being a CEO and having a huge family. And so I prayed and I'm like, please, can I shut down my business? It's like, there's nobody left. I'm in this 4,000 square foot empty building. And I got a firm no. And so I realized like, there's a reason for this company. There's a reason I feel called to do this company. And so I've stopped asking. I realized that this is something that is something that the world needs and that the world is ready for. And so I love what I do. I wake up every morning. Because it's almost a hobby for me. It's actually, I'm not in the weeds. I'm not in the thick of the business, but I love to do vision stuff and I love to create and so it's hard for me to even shut it off. And so my outlet is actually doing like creative projects at home because I have to always be thinking and creating. And so yeah, I love my team. Like it's the team we have is amazing. Like I look at everybody and they are doing more than I ever could have done myself. And we would not be even close to what we could be without them. So yes, I'm passionate about it. It drives me to wake up in the morning. And so, yes, very happy with my business. So, okay, Clayton said, what would you change about your business had you known how certain experiences would have played out? Yeah, so that's a good one. So I've always been a believer that, like, if I look back at like all the trials and all the experiences I've had, like I've always been grateful for them, because every trial or difficulty I had, either I was taught something, or it changed the trajectory of my business in a way that I would have never on my own done without that hardship or that trial. And so I'm very grateful for all those. And I really have a really positive outlook on that. I have this quote that's like, the sooner you realize that life is hard, then it no longer is hard anymore. And so if we all have that mindset, then it makes those trials go away. But that said, there are always obviously things I'm like, that would have been really cool not to have to go through that again. So, okay, so some things that I would say is, don't hire a bunch of visionaries. That doesn't get the job done. One time I had like a ton of people that we had great meetings about vision. And it was like, we spent so many hours on business plans, which is a whole nother, I can go on a rant about business plans on a whole nother life. But like, I just realized that you need to have people that are different than you, that complement you, that make you better than you could ever be. It is the uniqueness and the qualities of all of us that make this so wonderful. And so don't hire a bunch of you. Sometimes you think that that's the way it needs to be. Another thing is, be lean and mean. For a long time, I used to think if you build it, they will come. Like, I had a big office thinking that it would just like come, and we would have all these people, or I'd hire more employees than I needed because, I got to be ready for growth. And what I realized is that sometimes it's that growth and that lean and mean angst and almost like pain that's caused by having to be lean and mean, that like creates the process that you need and works through the problems that you have, and creates a really solid team that struggle. Like, you think about people when they don't financially have a lot, when they're forced to make do with what they have, like, they appreciate it more. And I think that's kind of the same in business. Like, when you really take advantage of what you have, and you don't have fluff or bloat in your company. Like, I just realized when there is bloat, it doesn't feel healthy, just like in your personal life or in anything, right? Like the way we eat or anything. It's just, the more that you appreciate the resources you have and you don't take for granted of them, like, and this is kind of a model for life too, right? Like, never look at your money as your own. Like, be grateful that, like, that's something that's been given to you. And same thing like in business, like, always look at the resources you have as something great, and don't take for granted of it. And you might hear my 3-year-old yelling at my door. So 1 second. Hold on, I'm on a live. You know what I love about this? So on this note, with my 3-year-old screaming at me, I just think the world is going to change. Like, I think about, who was the guy that had no shorts on when he did his newscast? I think it was truly genuine. Okay, 1 second. Okay, did everybody stay with me? Nobody jumped off? Okay, I just had to. So what I was saying was, like, the newscaster that had no shorts on, and then he had his suit jacket on, and it was truly genuine. He just got done working out. He threw his suit jacket on, and he didn't realize his camera was showing his shorts, and they looked a lot shorter, like he just had underwear on. And it was just, I love that, because here's this professional newscaster completely with no pants on. And I thought, like, this is what the world needed. Like, we've been a virtual company for 5 years, and while we try to maintain a level of professionalism, things happen. I still remember I was on a meeting. So I went on a small tangent, and I'll come back. I still remember I was on a meeting with a guy, and my younger, I think he's probably like 1.5 years, 2 years at the time. He comes in, and he's got a cough drop up his nose. And, like, it's one of those menthol ones, so it's, like, gotta be burning. And I thought, like, I had it recorded too, so I'll have to, like, find that video. But it was the funniest thing, because, like, I love that we're learning to relax about some of these things, because for so long, I'm a mom and I have this business that I'm running, and it's like I learned to not be uptight about it. But it's cool that it took me a lot of years to overcome some of that fear of, like, oh no, somebody's judging me because my kid's knocking on my door. Now it's like, sorry guys, that's just the way it is. And I love that the world's getting on board with that now too, because I've come to terms with it years ago, but it took me a lot of years to actually get to that point. And so I love that we can all be in this together. Like, we all have families, we're all real people. So even though we have businesses, like so often we wanted to create this like firm line between business and life. And while I'm a firm believer of professionalism and maintaining that level of professionalism, like, we're all real people. Like, the sooner we acknowledge that, then the sooner we can, I don't know, just embrace life, embrace humanity. And so, okay. All right. Oh, Emily said, oh, I had a blowout all over me in a meeting last week. That's awesome. Yeah, if you're not a parent, like, what comes with the territory of children is poop. And when they finally don't start pooping on you or smearing their poop all over their crib, like, then they have potty talk. Like, potty talk is a real thing, especially with boys. Like, they think they're so cool if they use the word poop in a conversation. So, all right. Let's see, we might have some other questions here. What are some of the mistakes that you wish you could have avoided that entrepreneurs would need to, let me reread that. What are some of the mistakes that you wish you could have avoided that entrepreneurs would need to know now? All right, that's good. So my biggest one is not spending the 2 years like I did and wasted trying to get to the bottom of my to-do list. So some of you might have heard this story before, but like, I literally spent 2 years probably working a lot of times 16 hours a day, at the most 10 hours a day, like working as hard as I could, as fast as I could, saying, as soon as I get to the bottom of my to-do list, then I'll have time to work on my business. Then I'll have time to market. Then I'll have time to do those things. And so I literally would, like, I'd get an email in, and then I would immediately put it on my to-do list. And I would be responsive, and I'd reply to people really quick. And I had such pride in the fact that I responded to everybody, and I did everything, and I had everything on my to-do list, and I didn't miss a thing. And then I started to get this mindset of, like, as visionaries, it's our job to drop the ball, because, like, we need people, our team around us, to be able to be there to pick them up, to keep us in that visionary mode and in that executive mode. And I've completely different now. If I miss an email, it's like, because of the role that I'm in, like, it kind of comes with the territory that I'm not in my email all the time. If I am, then I'm not doing my job. I have an executive assistant that does my emails, so it helps that I don't have to stress about it. But if she accidentally archives an email that maybe I needed, I would rather her be overly aggressive and archive something that maybe I needed than the other way around. And so I've loosened up, I've relaxed about it. And I think, as so many business owners and entrepreneurs think that they have to control everything, and they have to do everything, and they have to make it perfect. And the sooner you get okay with messy and imperfect, and you empower and you have A players and a solid team around you to help bring perfection and excellence to what your vision is, like, that is when the magic happens. And so many business owners flip that around. And so if I had to just choose one thing, do not do it all yourself. Have a team that you can have, and don't try to think you have to go hire all these people on your team. Like, I often, like, used to get kind of reserved on saying this because I didn't want to feel like I was salesy or preachy with, like, what our model is. But I've seen so many business owners do it wrong that I'm just going to say it. So many business owners will go hire people with $60,000 a year salaries, or $70,000 a year, or a bunch of people at, $15 an hour, or whatever it is. But, like, and then they don't even know who they are yet or what their vision is. And so what happens is they're paying all these people to sit around without much accountability or process. And then when I go and talk to them about my model, and then it's like, oh, that's going to be $2,000 or this much, they'll like, it's like, oh, they shrink and they're not willing to spend it. But they'll be spending $10,000 a month or huge amounts on labor that's just getting wasted, instead of just paying 100% for productive labor. And I understand that not a lot of people know that our type of model is out there, where you literally can get one point person with a full team of access in all these areas. And so it allows you to be lean and mean, and to scale your company and pay for, like, that fractional labor model, where you're paying a portion of a person with different skills and mindset. And so, like, that to me is, like, the biggest takeaway is, like, when you're starting your company, don't try to do it all yourself, and don't hire a full team to just thinking that if you build it, whether it's building it through a a company or through brick and mortar, like an actual office space, or if you build it from the standpoint of I'm going to hire a team and it's just all going to kind of happen. It doesn't work that way. Be lean and mean, go out and be innovative and do marketing and get your voice heard. And then you can start to work on the operations and all that kind of behind the scenes. So many people want to plan out everything and make it perfect and all the process perfect before they go. Like, do enough, but just go. Like, starting to me is more important. I'm obviously getting way opinionated on this, so I'm gonna like lower my tone a little bit. No. Okay, so what else do we have? Let me see where the last question went. All right, let's see. Did I miss a question? What are some of the mistakes? Oh, how did you know when you had the right idea? I'm going to take that from the standpoint of, or how do I know when I have like the right idea? Like when I know something, like, so when I was small, it was easy because I've always been something that's really connected my heart and mind together. And I've been visionary and I love data, but it's like the two of them together is like, you can kind of weigh your vision and all that, and be able to go forward without fear and just having, and just like, okay, I'm going to go for it. And then whatever the consequences are is what it is, but I feel good about it. So I had to figure out, like, it was innate for me. It's always been kind of innate for me to act that way. And I had to kind of reflect on, like, why is that easy for me? What is that? And, for us, we might say it's our gut or whatever, and as visionary as it is. But as you get a bigger team, you gotta have to get a little more sophisticated, and you have to figure out now how to train that and empower your team on that. And so I started to equate, like, what is my gut and what does that mean? And it's cool because I'm actually creating a guidebook right now to launch to all of you guys about the same concept that I've self-reflected on and tried to figure out. Because the sooner you figure out, and we're calling it the center point, because if you can figure out your center point of your company, which I define as your purpose, your values, and your vision, once you know that, then you have clarity on who you are, where you came from, and where you want to go. And it allows you to make decisions, and it allows you to empower your team to make decisions. And so what's cool about that is now you have kind of a compass to guide you on how to make the decisions in the company. And so literally I put everything to that test. So even it isn't, is there going to be a bigger short-term gain if I make this decision and throw out my vision? No, it's, okay, yeah, weigh your short and long-term gains, weigh all the variables, but at the end of the day, you got to go with, here's the vision, here's where we're trying to go, here's the pros and cons of both of these decisions. This one, based on that vision and our values and all that, makes sense, we're going to go for it. And so I don't really fear anymore because of that. I once you have that as a decision-making tool, and you make that as part of your culture and everything you do, then your team can be empowered, and then they don't have to be afraid when they made mistakes, because they're like, look, I know we completely failed on that thing that we just did, but this is why I made that decision, and they can back it up with the vision and the values and your purpose. And then they'd be like, okay, I think though, this is what we learned from that. And then they can go and when we learn new things. And so it's such a simpler way to live and simpler way to run your business. And it's like so much less stressful. And so it's quite empowering. Just seeing the culture that we've built based upon that foundation has been great. And so I'm excited to share that with you guys. Should be ready in like the next week. So, all right, let's see what other questions we have. You see, there's lots of great comments. So how did you know when you had the right idea? Okay, that was the last one. Okay, so next question is, how did you handle adversity and doubt? It's kind of the same, it's kind of expanded on the last question that I had. Adversity and doubt to me is, I handle it well now. I don't think, I've had a lot in the last few months too, and there's some hard trials, but I've had so much peace during it. And again, the key is, of course, having your vision and your values and your purpose. But I would be lying if I didn't say that God was a big part of that. Like I don't think I can answer that question without saying that by having what I call grit and grace, so taking action, doing the things that I need to do, working hard, and then knowing that those trials will only last so long, and that there are miracles that happen, and there, whether you want to call it the stars aligning or whatever, like there's something that makes up that difference. Now I call that God and grace, but the thing that I always had the wrong opinion of grace until, like, honestly, it was like 3 months ago. I had to actually give a talk at church on the concept of grace, and I was researching it. And I was always kind of taught, like, you do all you can do, and then God makes up the difference at the end, right? But the more I researched grace, the more I realized, like, grace is actually all of these small trials and hardships that we have throughout life and in your business. Like, grace happens with each individual trial as well. And so it makes up that difference, and it makes those trials and those doubts and that adversity not so hard, because I know that there's also going to be some magic that comes from it. You know, you read different people's experiences with death or hardship or anything, and it's amazing how many people, amidst that hardship, like even if they had a child die, which is, I can imagine that type of trial, but even amidst like a death as difficult as a child dying, like they'll come out with some miracle that happened or some amazing thing. And I thought, like, that can happen in every experience that we have. And so because I have that mindset, like, what can I learn from that? Just like this quarantine, there's so many amazing things that have come out of this. And just like if you rewind back to the beginning of this video, I talk about my son being reunited with his stepsister or half sister, and what is it? It's half sister. See, we just treat each other like family, so I don't even know what the words are anymore. And it's just amazing when you really speak from the heart, and you care about the little things in life, like all the other big, I don't think they ever seem so big anymore. So, all right, these are all great. So how do you plan to scale the business more? What needs to happen in a season of your company to scale? I love this question because this has been big on my mind. So I always knew, my gut was always like, okay, I feel like I need a base team in place first, the people that can get the work done and grow and expand the company. And then it's going to keep building. Like I have this model that I do with, like, the human experience is comprised of keeping balance with people, process, and technology, meaning like all three of those can help improve the human experience. And so we got a really good team. And then I realized we were, at some point in my business, probably a couple of years ago, I was like, we need more process. And so I hired a process engineer to come in, and we hired a lot of process-minded people. And so we developed a lot more process. And then now I'm at the point where we realized that we were struggling in the technology side of things. And so 6 months ago, we now have a full tech and development team, and it's really cool to now be able to create technology to help automate and systematize some services that we do. That way we can keep lowering the cost for entrepreneurs. We can keep expanding on a level that we can deliver to them. And so one area I will say is technology. The second area is process related, but what I realize is we've done as much process as we can. Like earlier on in the live, I'd mentioned about how sometimes you just need to go and crank through the volume to get your processes lined out. And that's kind of where we're at. We're ready, we're set for growth, and we're ready to bring on lots more entrepreneurs now because of what we've done behind the scenes. And so now I realize our process will get better by the more businesses we run through. And then let's see, I was thinking there was so that was kind of the main thing, is technology, and then process, and then I knew there was another one. So the third one is marketing. So the marketing team has done a great job of getting more out there, but now we're just kind of keep cranking the faucet on it. Like we're being consistent with what we do. It doesn't mean we're not refining what we're currently doing, but we're adding to it, and we're building upon it, and we're repurposing content and just getting more and more of a presence online. For a lot of years, I almost felt guilty marketing, and here's why. It's not that I know I preached the opposite and purposefully, but I literally was creating a message of don't work on your business, or don't work in your business, work on it. Get out of the weeds. I was in the weeds for over a decade, and so it was really hard for me to be authentic with my marketing if I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. And so we luckily organically grew fast enough where we didn't have to do a lot of marketing. And so, but the problem is now that I am out of the weeds, we're having to play catch up with like, we do marketing for others, but we haven't done a ton as much as we should have for us. And so our marketing team is literally having to play catch up for the decade that I didn't market as much, because we literally organically grew almost faster than we could handle a lot of times. And so but now we're poised to a spot where like we have a solid team and we're ready to grow. So, okay. What's another question? How can I be a good leader for my team right now? Okay, so this one is one that I'm really passionate. I guess I'm passionate about all of these. So I think I mentioned first is how I had done it all wrong. I had fired a full team. I was standing in a 4,000 square foot office. I had hired a bunch of visionaries, if you remember, like a lot of people that weren't doing work, and there wasn't a lot of accountability. And I had created a team literally the wrong way that you should. And then now that we have this amazing team and this great culture, and I just realized that leadership is, I kind of always equate it to like, what do you do in your personal life, or what do you do? Like, we don't want to micromanage our spouse or micromanage our kids or control our kids or control our spouse, but why is it that in business we think that we're supposed to control our employees? Like, we kind of, again, we separate business and we think it's different than what our business and our personal is supposed to be different. But we can learn a lot of truths from both of them. And I just realized so much that the more you empower your team, so again, having a clear vision, having clear values, and having clear purpose, and then empowering your team to make decisions based off of that. Like, I'm a firm believer that we are all creative beings, that we all have unique talents that we all come to the table with. And when you unleash that in your team, like, magic happens. Like, seriously, it doesn't mean that you don't have accountability, but you wouldn't believe how many things I've seen of people speaking about being virtual and how virtual is the worst thing in a company. You can't be virtual because you can't supervise your employees. And what they're really saying is you can't control your employees. And it's like, well, if you create accountability and they know their job description and what they need to accomplish, let them govern themselves, because if they're not producing, then you let them go. It's that simple. They naturally weed themselves out if you let go. And so it's interesting concept that, yeah, you might be able to keep a lot of bad people longer because you controlled them, but again, they're still the wrong people. So the sooner you let your employees and empower them to make decisions and to govern themselves, as long as they know what they need to accomplish and what they have, it weeds the bad ones out sooner. And so I'm a believer in having the right people on the bus, like making sure that people align with your values and all that. And then also getting the right people in the right seat on the bus. I can't tell you how many times we were like really frustrated with an employee, but we knew that we liked who they were as a person and they had good values and they aligned with our vision. But like, man, they're just not cutting it in this position. And so it was either like fire them or move them to another spot. And sometimes when we moved them to other spots, it's like, it's amazing. It's like they flourish and they're like, oh my goodness, this is great. That's like my favorite story to hear, is when you can see somebody that we literally just had them in the wrong spot. And so seeing them being powered by that is just amazing. Let's see. So let me see what other questions we have. Now I got lawn people going outside of my house. See, this is life now. Okay, how did you build your team? Yeah, so it like I said, I did it all the wrong way first, and then I finally figured it out. But a lot of it was getting the right key people first, because I realized like they're better at process, they're better at operations. And even like the president of our company, he'll talk to me and be like, you're actually really good at that. You've done it the right way. And I said, yeah, I'm do it because I know I have to, because I created a team before the wrong way. So I know how to create a good team and how to do it. I just don't like to do it, like getting in the weeds with all the HR stuff and things. And so I realized that I knew what I had done wrong, and I started to build a team the right way. And so it really is about finding those few key A players and then empowering them, and then they empower the next people. I just talked to somebody yesterday And she works for a company. She's actually looking to switch jobs because she's working for a company where they grew really fast. She's still like the right hand to somebody, the owner, and they grew to quite a few employees, but they haven't changed anything. They haven't worked through any process and I thought, the way you build a team is and she feels like she's having to do all the fire still as the secondhand person. And what I do is I make sure that the people underneath me are feeling okay. I'm always asking them, are you okay? Like, are you handling things okay? Like, do you have enough bandwidth still? And then they do the same thing with them. Like, it goes back to that servant leader mentality, right? Like, we're there to serve the people underneath us to keep us free. Like, on one hand, it's service-based, but it's also a little bit selfish. Like, I know if my leadership gets too bogged down, then I'm going to get bogged down. And so it's like this give and take and this perfect marriage and synergy where if I take care of my team that works for me, then they take care of me, and then they do the same for them. They take care of the team underneath them, and they take care of me. And I've met a lot of companies, and even we have a lot of clients that are like decentralized companies. I know that's the big buzzword, is like a flat company alignment. And I agree in autonomous teams. I agree in empowerment, obviously, based on what I said. But there has to be some level of depth. Otherwise, you have a one-to-many where you're managing 100 people or 50 people. And I literally have seen decentralized companies where each decentralized place is literally reinventing the wheel for everything that they're doing. Like all the marketing materials, I'm like, there's power in scale. Like that is why as you get bigger, like you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And so I feel like there's a way to have best of both worlds where you can be agile, because agility to me is the most important thing in a company. And so you have to there's a way to be agile, but still have structure. And so I think that all these companies went the other full extreme of being fully autonomous and fully decentralized and fully disconnected to being like, okay, how can we bring it back where we're getting a little bit of best of both worlds, a little bit of the structure, a little bit of empowerment. And so that's kind of where my opinions have kind of landed is really merging those two together. And I think that having that clear vision and that culture and that strong culture and that empowerment culture accomplishes the same thing that they were trying to do with these autonomous pods and decentralized companies. And if they thought it was their way of staying agile, but I've seen it literally with our clients halt what they have. Now, our model has worked perfect for those types of businesses because they are like, we don't have enough resources to do a marketing plan or do all of our Facebook replies, and so they can, because we don't have to go necessarily to the top headquarters to them use us as a client. It's worked out well where they can really align with us, and we kind of work from the bottom up instead of the top down on some of these clients where, we've shown proof of concept with a couple centers or businesses, and like, look what these centers have done. And so then we can keep going to other areas as well. So, all right, another good talk. I know I'm going long here, but these are really good questions. So, okay, what is your number one tip for a brand new entrepreneur? What's your number one tip for entrepreneurs? Oh, number one. I think it goes back to kind of what I've been talking about is first start, and I'm actually creating a whole course and guide around this. So I'll just kind of put my plug in here. I'm creating, so what I've done is I've reflected back over the last decade. I've gone to all my notes and all these things, and I said, okay, I've learned so much. We have these clients, like how can I create a framework, and how can I create a concept that, guides and ways to walk entrepreneurs through through success. And because I've worked with business coaches and different people and all these things. I'm like, there's got to be more. We got to be able to go deeper with these entrepreneurs and help them out. And so I've started to pull it all together and create my opinion of the steps to helping an entrepreneur, whether you're brand new or just an entrepreneur ready to change and make it and be different. Is first thing first. Like, I know you're busy and you're crazy busy and you don't have much time to do. So spend a little bit of time. Don't make a full-on business plan. Don't make tons of projections. Don't set even 3, 5, 10-year long-term goals. No, just sit down and come up. And I'm creating a guide to help you do this. So if you want access to it when it comes in, we can give you the link. You can just comment in the video. but it is it's going to walk you through how to know what your purpose is, how to know what your values are, and how to know what your vision is. And like, I know there's like, there's so many concepts out there. You have, Simon Sinek Start With Why and Just Cause, which I love, but it wasn't very actionable. It didn't really show business owners how to do it. And so both books kind of contradicted each other a little bit. And so I was like, oh, I love Simon Sinek. So I feel like it just made things more complex in that area after I read both of them. And then like there's mission statements and vision statements and all this stuff. And so I started researching and figuring all that out. And when I researched it, I realized that everybody's arguing on how to define a mission statement, and vision statement, but nobody's giving the entrepreneur a clear viewpoint of what they should be doing. And so I went back to the drawing board and was like, okay, what do I believe is important? And instead of having 10 different terms that we all use, I said, okay, you need a purpose, you need values, and you need a vision. You need to know where you came from, what your guiding principles are, leading you along the pathway, and then where you're going. And so once you have those, you have what I'm calling all three of those like your center point. It's really the true why of why you're in business, what gets you up in the morning. So once you have that clarity, and it's not a long process, it's going to keep you going. Like that's step number one, is get that lined out. And then step number two, and this goes against the norm as well, is so many people focus on operations and expenses. I know those are important, but they don't bring in the revenue. They don't keep you from being an obsolete company. And so you look at companies now, like if you're not looking up and out and seeing what the world is wanting and what your customers are wanting and how you need to be agile and change, you will be an obsolete company. And so the second part of the process, which is a little bit longer, but not as long, is having a simplified focus, so simplicity, having innovation where you are seeing how you can better serve your customers and what they're needing, and then marketing. Take action, get your voice heard. If you're not start marketing sooner rather than later. Don't worry for all your operations and your processes to be figured out and then go. Like sometimes all that stuff gets figured out as you go. And sometimes like I've seen people literally create full-on processes before, and then they start going and they realize that process needs to be fully revamped. So as much as operations and their expenses are important, those kind of follow as a leading, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it like tags along with you and gets worked out as you go. Like I don't want you to sweep them on the rug and pretend they're not important. But if you focus on, again, the second part of it is simplicity, innovation, and marketing. So that's the second part of the concept that we're working towards. And then the third part, I know this is the third part of business. Like, so once you get all that figured out, and then the next phase is longer and harder, but it's more rewarding. It takes you from a standpoint of success to having significance. And really the focus there is time, money, and joy. And really what that does is gives you, by focusing on those and figuring out how to have more time and focusing your energy on the things that are important and having more money. And then if you have money, how are you giving money and giving back? And do you have joy and all that? And all that creates to a level of freedom in your business and where you need to go. So it's kind of going from a standpoint of knowing your why to having success to having significance. And marketing's hearing this for the first time, but this has been something, if marketing's on here like that, that's really something that I've been working on this last couple of weeks, is building this flow. So this is a great question of like, what is the number one tip? So I gave you like 9 tips there, but number one is clear vision and clear understanding of where you're going. So really that center point that I talk about, your vision, your values, and your purpose, knowing those 3. So if you want to know, since that's the first step, if you want to know about it, comment in here and I'll get you the link to where that guide will be available for you. All right. I know I've gone really long. So if there are more questions, we will tackle those on another live because I'm already at like 45 minutes. And actually, this is great. We have people that have been on with us for a while, so I love this. So thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully this was informative. If you're watching the replay on this, just comment more questions and I will do a direct message to you with an audio recording of kind of my opinion. It's been interesting being in this spot of being a visionary and being able to be a visionary. My team protects me of not being in the whirlwind so much so. Like I'll be in a meeting and they're like, wait, we got to talk about something that you don't need to be involved in. So you can just leave. Like that's how protective they are of my time and my brain. And so that now that I've had this time to reflect and really figure out who I am and the vision of the company and where we're going, I lost my train of thought. see, I get too much backstory. I don't remember, but when you can focus on that, it allows you to really figure out where your business can go. So, all right, with that said, I was going to wrap that around to a very cool point, but if it comes to me, I'll figure it out on the next live. So, all right, thanks everyone for joining. I really hope this was beneficial. And I think, let's see, the next live is Thursday, and I'm trying to remember. I think actually I'm meeting with Caitlin on our team. So talking about process, I'm kind of going off the cuff here. I don't remember the exact details. Something about process and building teams or delegating, something like that. So with that said, thanks everyone, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye.